you've been screaming into the heavens for weeks, but the only thing you're hearing back is the echo of your own voice. You start to wonder if God has changed his number, or worse, if he's finally had enough of your mistakes and walked away. Most Christians treat God's silence as a spiritual timeout, a punishment for something they can't quite name. But what if the silence isn't a sign of his absence, but a specific type of presence designed to prepare you for a weight you aren't yet strong enough to carry? Today, we are entering the waiting room, the place where most believers give up, but where the most dangerous spiritual weapons are forged. The first mistake we make when the heavens go quiet is assuming we are in the punishment zone. We go through a mental checklist of every big sin we've committed, waiting for the lightning bolt. But if you are truly walking on God's path, silence is rarely about rejection. It's about holy, intentional, surgical pain. Think about it. A teacher is always quietest during the test. If God is silent, it might be because he's already given you the instructions, and now he's watching to see if you'll trust the word. He already spoke when the feeling of his presence is gone. We often mistake the lack of an emotional high for the loss of God's favor, but the narrow road is not built on feelings. It's built on connection. Before you assume it's a test, you have to perform a spiritual audit. While silence can be preparation, it can also be the result of invisible chains, normalized behaviors that create legal access for spiritual weariness. We often ignore the subtle tethers because they don't look like big sins. But these small compromises quietly weaken your spiritual life. Are you grumbling? Complaining feels like venting, but it's actually a spiritual declaration that God hasn't been good enough. It shifts your heart from gratitude to negativity, blinding you to the very blessings you're praying for. Are you holding an offense? We normalize this by saying, "I'm not mad, I'm just done with them." But avoidance isn't healing. Unforgiveness is a blessing blocker that cuts off your connection with the Father. If you are holding a grudge, you are essentially holding a shield that God's voice has to pierce through. When you're in the waiting room and the audit is clear, the silence often means you're being pruned. Jesus said that every branch that bears fruit is pruned so it can bear more fruit. Pruning feels like loss. It feels like a relationship falling apart, a career door slamming shut, or a ministry dream collapsing. You cry out, thinking you're under attack, but you aren't under attack. You're under construction. God is removing the things that are quietly blocking your growth. He is clearing the room to fill it with the right people and the right desires. The silence of God is often an invitation to turn down the noise of the world. We live in a culture of prayerlessness where we treat God like a crisis hotline rather than a daily connection. This is where the weapon of fasting comes in. Fasting isn't about earning points. It's about replacing physical hunger with spiritual hunger. When you silence the flesh, your spirit becomes sharper and more sensitive. In the waiting room, your appetite has to shift. You lose your taste for the things you used to run toward: popularity, approval, or hustle. If you feel a holy discomfort in environments where you used to thrive, that's not a setback. That's proof that you're on the path that leads to life. The greatest misunderstanding of the waiting room is the idea that we need to work harder to get God to speak. But the secret isn't striving, it's abiding. Abiding means to remain, stay, and dwell. It's like a phone on a charger. The phone doesn't try to get power, it simply stays connected. When you are in a silent season, your only job is to stay in the Word, stay in prayer, and stay in obedience. Fruit is not forced, it's a natural result of staying connected. You don't manufacture joy, it grows in you while you wait. If you can walk in peace when nothing around you makes sense, that is the sign that you are truly in step with the Spirit. God doesn't save you to keep you comfortable. He saves you to make you dangerous. The silence is often the stretching phase. He is calling you to forgive when you'd rather hold on, or to walk by faith when you want proof. You don't feel ready, you don't feel qualified, but His strength is made perfect in your weakness. If you are being stretched beyond your comfort zone right now, it's because God is preparing you to occupy a larger territory than you ever imagined. Breakthrough doesn't always come in a thunderclap. Sometimes it comes in spiritual breadcrumbs, a verse that lands in your heart exactly when you need it, a sermon that answers a private prayer, a quiet peace that guards your mind while the storm is still raging. When you choose obedience in the silent, everyday things, God is positioning you for the loud breakthroughs in the big things. The waiting room is not a dead end. It's the hallway to your purpose. If you feel like God is silent today, stop trying to kick the door down. Check for the invisible chains of grumbling or offense. Lean into the pruning and start the gratitude reset. mindset. Transformation doesn't happen when the light is brightest. It happens when you choose to trust the Father in the dark. You are not alone. You are not beyond change. And this silence is not your end. It's your preparation. Which part of the waiting room are you in right now? Drop a comment below with, "Lord, teach me to abide," and let's stand together in the silence. If this message gave you the clarity you needed, share it with a friend who's struggling to hear God's voice. Subscribe to keep building your faith with biblical wisdom. Remember, the signs are in front of you, and the voice is calling. This is the way. Walk in it.